Yes, indeed there are contacts, and they have been established across several areas and channels. I see no secret in this, and there are new proposals. Proposals for a meeting with the head of the regime, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in Kyiv. These proposals are well known. The request to halt hostilities, at least for a short time, along the line of contact, is also nothing new. But there are also new proposals, and I am prepared to name some of them.
Could this bring relief for Zelensky? Putin has outlined what he says is a path toward ending the Ukraine war, but will it lead to peace? Russia has explained why it rejected Kyiv's proposal for a battlefield truce, revealing the key sticking points behind the decision. Putin's latest peace terms are back in focus, but are they a genuine offer for negotiations or an ultimatum for Ukraine? Moscow says it remains open to negotiations, while insisting that any talks will not be aimed at preserving what it calls the Kyiv regime. Russia claims it has accepted several US-backed proposals related to Ukraine, signaling that it remains willing to engage in the diplomatic process. Could Belarus become the venue for the next round of Russia-Ukraine peace talks as efforts to restart negotiations gather momentum?
Overall, the attacks on our civilian infrastructure are being carried out not only to inflict some kind of damage on us, although I imagine this is important to the enemy, but also to fuel a propaganda campaign, and perhaps, to be more precise, not even a campaign but a propaganda operation as part of the confrontation with Russia, with the aim, at the very least, of sowing doubt in our minds about ourselves and our forces, or, better still, to drive a wedge into Russian society and force Russia to halt, at least for a short time, the advance of our troops along the line of contact, thereby creating the conditions for the start of a negotiation process on terms favorable to them. That is, to our adversary. We will not give them such a chance. Moreover, and this is important, none of these terrorist raids have any impact whatsoever on the situation at the front. This is a matter of principle. Whatever strikes are carried out against our infrastructure, wherever they may be, they have absolutely no effect on the situation at the front or on the line of contact. Yes, indeed there are contacts, and they have been established across several areas and channels. I see no secret in this, and there are new proposals. Proposals for a meeting with the head of the regime, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in Kyiv. These proposals are well known. The request to halt hostilities, at least for a short time, along the line of contact, is also nothing new. But there are also new proposals, and I am prepared to name some of them. For example, a cessation of strikes deep into the territory on both sides. It is clear why this proposal is being made, because our retaliatory strikes deep into Ukrainian territory are far more powerful, devastating, and, to put it bluntly, destructive, leading to truly serious consequences for the Kyiv regime. Another proposal is to limit military operations to just 4 territories. That is, to conduct military operations only in the Kherson region, the Zaporizhzhia region, the Donetsk People's Republic, and the Lugansk People's Republic, and to cease hostilities in all other territories. It is also clear why. Because this would enable Ukrainian armed forces to withdraw their troops from the Nikolaev, Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkov, and Sumy regions, as well as from certain sections of the state border, and redeploy these units to the 4 regions mentioned above. Given the catastrophic shortage of personnel in the Ukrainian armed forces, they apparently believe that this could be their salvation. But saving the Kyiv regime is not part of our plans. Although we take such a careful approach, and I say this without any irony, to every proposal that comes from the other side. However, given the current situation, we do not rule out the possibility of attempts by the Ukrainian armed forces to launch what the enemy considers to be unexpected, and which we, too, may find unexpected diversionary attacks carried out by special forces with limited objectives, with the aim of diverting our attention and our forces away from the main task, the final liberation of Donbass and Novorossiya. It is true that no agreements were reached in Anchorage. I would like to start with something else. The point you raise about European leaders having changed the mind of the U.S. President Donald Trump regarding the events unfolding in Ukraine. I am not aware of anything of the sort. I doubt that this is possible, bearing in mind that, after all, the U.S. President is a mature politician, more than just mature, an experienced politician. He is in office a second time and knows what he is doing, I believe. Well, I suppose we're all human. We all listen to our own people, our opponents, and our allies. We take their views on board and may adjust our own perspective to some extent, but not to the point of being completely persuaded. In any case, I am not aware of anything like that as yet. I know nothing about it. What's more, although the so-called spirit of anchorage was not set out in any formal documents, no one signed anything, but we did discuss certain possibilities for bringing the conflict in Ukraine to an end, and the compromises that were discussed were the proposals put forward to us by the American side. We were asked to make compromises as formulated by the American negotiators. We agreed. So what else is there? We were asked to make compromises. We thought about it, not straight away, but we traveled to Anchorage and said, yes, we agree. We have heard no other position from the American side, from the U.S. administration. We are expecting, once all the events in the critical phase on the Iranian track have concluded, the arrival of those representatives of the U.S. administration with whom we have already met on several occasions in Moscow. We are ready to continue negotiations and discuss all the details and all our terms. If not the agreements themselves, then at least the issues discussed in Anchorage. It is a cause for concern when rude shouts are heard from the outside. This does not cause any panic on the part of Belarusian President Lukashenko. He approaches this very calmly, with composure and a level head. We are grateful to him for the efforts Alexander Grigorievich is making in this regard, particularly with regard to resolving humanitarian issues, specifically the exchange of prisoners of war. As we recall, negotiations began in Minsk back in 2022. Subsequently, at the suggestion of the Ukrainian side, we moved to Istanbul, but it was in Minsk that agreements were concluded to settle relations between Kyiv and Donetsk. Unfortunately, we now know for certain that neither the Ukrainian side nor our Western negotiating partners had any intention of honoring these agreements. But that is another matter. What is important is that Belarus has always provided us with its territory, its venue for holding negotiations. I am confident that if negotiations are ever required, we will be able to make use of these same facilities in Belarus. I am aware of Alexander Grigorievich's position. He is prepared to support in every way possible any efforts aimed at resolving contentious issues by peaceful means.
All things considered, how did the negotiations go?
We spent a day, or even a little longer, talking with him in an informal setting. Not just the two of us, but the three of us. I invited the Russian Prime Minister, Mikhail Vladimirovich Mishustin. We discussed, first and foremost, economic issues and cooperation in various fields, energy industry, and other areas. We also spoke about humanitarian cooperation. It was a very successful and fruitful visit.